child support ultimately comes down to how many nights that child is with whichever
Objection.
parent.
There's something that you said in there which was very key. It's highly unlikely that a judge will grant a little child to go from one parent to another when they're on two different sides, farther away, different cities, different county, different state during school hours. That's the key right there.
Every court is different, because it comes down to the
That's
judge.
a problem right
Right,
there.
but
Yes, what you just said is 1000% correct. Yes, this is what encounters, this is what happens in these hearings. Why? Because people are walking in there consenting, volunteering into the program. I didn't use anything pertaining to California in my case. I only used United States Code, Supreme Court case law.
technically you're right? But when it comes to family court, it's not a court of law. They don't have to follow these laws. You can bring all these things, but at the end of the day, if that judge say this is what I believe needs to happen in this case, that is what is.
All rise.
I just want to be able to see my daughter.
Take a real man to be.
So you're just living off of his child support.
We've gone over so many of these cases.
Order in the court.
Thank you so much, and welcome to the Family Court Podcast. Like I was saying earlier, this conversation was long overdue. You know what I mean? And again, just to apologize properly for what happened last time that we were supposed to speak, I had 3 podcasts scheduled, and when I was trying to get back to you, the podcasts basically overlapped one another. It made it very hard for me to get back to you and really had the podcast with you the first time that we had it scheduled.
For sure.
But it's really good to see you, and it's really good to really sit down with you finally to have this conversation.
Oh yeah, most definitely, man. I appreciate you for having me on, and as I stated before, I'm a fan of of the platform. I repost a lot of your content. It gets a lot of traction, so and just furthering the movement, and I appreciate you as well.
Absolutely. All right, so speaking of content, one thing that I've come to understand since I started my platform, many people like us, that post anything that relate to the family court system, we have dealt with it in one way or another. You know what I mean? And like me personally, it was a very nasty divorce to where my children were taken away from me for a total of 15 years. So I had to pay a lot of money. Instead of 15 years, 15 months, not 15 years, God forbid. 15 months, God forbid, not 15 years. So, but I paid a lot of money, through attorney fees, court fees, and all this other stuff to make sure that I was part of my children's life. You know what I mean? So, and one thing that I ran into that was really a big trouble for me and a lot of people that follow me is child support, and according to your content, you are very vocal about child support, and you really do your best to expose it, to the best of your ability. Now, I have one specific question that I really want to get to a little later on, but I wanted to start with your story. Like, what happened that really brought you into this journey to develop this type of awareness and put men on the know about what really goes on in the child support services?
Well, for me, starting off, I found out about my child support case 7 years after it opened. After the case had been open for 7 years, I get a job, and I'm working there for a few months, and then on payday, I get a call from HR wants to see me. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So I go to HR, and they like, I'm like, what's going on? They like, well, we got an income withholding order. I'm like, what is that? And it was like, yeah, they're gonna start garnishing your check effective immediately. I was like, who? What do you mean? Who? And they gave, it's like child support. They sent this notice said that you owe this amount of money in child support, and they're gonna start garnishing your checks. By the way, here's your check. I'm looking at my check, and it's short. So I'm like, yo, like, and now mind you, at this time, I'm not doing good at all. Like the job that I'm working a county job. I'm on GR, and they have me doing this work relief program. So I'm getting minimum pay. So I need every single dollar. And I'm looking at it. Now keep this in mind. I'm working for the county, but the county is garnishing my checks from the money that they're paying me. You taking money out your right pocket, putting it in your left pocket. So I call them, and I'm like, yo, what's going on? I just got this, notice. And the lady says, well, Mr. Tillman, Unfortunately, there's nothing that can be done. Like, you had 6 months to respond. It's been 7 years. I'm like, whoa, what do you mean 7 years? She said, yeah, the case has been open for 7 years. You don't know? I was like, nah. She said, well, yeah, you may want to hire an attorney to figure this out. But I mean, according to family code, this ain't nothing that can be done. Your response is untimely. I go down to the family court office. I speak to the family law facilitator. They supposed to help people do, self-help. They told me the same thing. Like, man, ain't nothing that can be done. So if I talk to child support and I talk to the people at the court that's supposed to help people, in poverty that don't have the money and finances to hire an attorney, y'all the people that's supposed to help me, and y'all telling me that there's nothing can be done. What else can I do? So that went on for another 13 years. So now, mind you, that's 20 years that I'm on child support. But during this process, they're suspending my license, they restricted my passport, bank levies. When I got a bank account, they sent bank levies, took all of my money out of my account, put a lien on my name. I even went to jail because they suspended my license. I got to get to work. So I got driving on suspended license. They put me in jail. I did 30 days in jail. It was a whole lot. Now, once I got out of jail, I'm like, yo, I can't go back to jail. Not for no damn driving on suspended license. I can't do that. Because the judge, like, if you come back again, you get 180 days. I'm like, I'm not doing 6 months in jail I'm not going to do that. So I said, okay, let me go to child support. I contact them. I go directly to the office, the same office where I do a lot of my content at. I went to their actually location. And I'm talking to him. I'm like, look, I need my license. She said, well, you can pay. How much can you pay? I said, I can give y'all additional $50. Again, out of the money that y'all paying me, I can give y'all $50 back out of that so I can keep my license. So I entered into that agreement with child support to keep my license under duress. That's the key part, under duress, to be able to keep my license. But every year, my license still got suspended for a system error. For 13 years. So once a year, my license got suspended. I had to pay them additional $50 to release the license, and then go pay the DMV another $75 to reinstate my license every year, even though I'm paying them $50 a month to keep my license. So just this particular year, we're now in 2016. They suspend my license. I got to call them. They telling me it's a system error, and I'm like, yo, why don't y'all fix it? Like, how long y'all gonna? It's been 13 years. When y'all gonna fix this?
Hold on. So you were paying that child support for 13 years?
Yes.
Wow. Let me make this quick point, and I know this is actually where many of us get in trouble. Is that because I know people that have basically that have gone to jail and got the license suspended without knowing that they were on child support. They have moved, changed their number, changed their address without notifying either the DMV or the child support services. But many of them didn't know that they had a child support that was pending prior to them moving. And I think that's usually how they get a lot of us. And this is gonna lead to my question that I have. The only question that I have at the end of the show. But so. Was the child yours, or it wasn't your child?
So that's a whole nother situation, because the child was conceived when I was 12 years old.
How? That's crazy.
That's what the court said. How? So you're meaning to tell me that this 12-year-old conceived a child, y'all waited until he turned 18, and as soon as he turned 18, y'all retroactively went back to collect child support because the girl was a minor at the time, and she couldn't get a job, so she had to get government assistance. So they went back and start charging a minor for the money that they was giving out while she was a minor.
Wow.
So we go through this whole process of, at this point, I'm in a hearing. But before I get to that, I'm gonna make it real quick. Go back on the other story, I'm talking to them on the phone, and I said, well, I don't even know why I'm going through this anyway. This is fraud. The lady said, fraud? What do you mean? You got served. I said, whoa, I did what? I got served? She said, yes, you got served. I'm like, well, Lady, I've been with me every day of my life, and I know I didn't get served. Shit.
Well, that's right.
Tell me what day I get served. She placed me on hold. She comes back. I'm sorry, Mr. Tillman. We don't have your signature. And before I can say anything, she said, that don't matter anyway because you volunteered into the program. I did what? She said, yeah, we have your signature. I said, okay, well, tell me what day I signed. She placed me on hold, comes back. I'm sorry, Mr. Tillman. We do not have your signature. This is 2016. So at this point, now I'm starting. She done already told me that I was supposed to get served and that child support was voluntary, that I volunteered into the program. So I just started doing more research. If they didn't, they're supposed to do this and they didn't, because she told me that they didn't, what else are they supposed to do? So I started doing my research. And that's how I led to even get to court, to where now I took them to court after 20 years. I took them to court. We're going through the process, and now we're looking at all of the evidence. And now we're getting back to the question. The judge said, well, this kid was 12 years old. How could he have conceived a child at 12 years old? Nobody decided to look at his age. Nobody. How does this even happen? So for me, I demanded a DNA testing. The mother, she denied it. She didn't want to take a DNA.
I bet.
The kid, he didn't want to come to court. He's 20 years old now, so he can make his own decision. So the mother actually, she couldn't make him take a DNA because he was an adult at this time. He declined and said he didn't want to come. So they're just going based off of the evidence and saying, well, based on science, there's no way possible that this kid could have fathered this child at 12 years old. He hadn't even reached puberty. He wasn't even producing semen at that time.
Wow.
So now mind you, in addition to that, I've always maintained that this wasn't my child, because my goal for this is never to bash her, but just to, how can I say this?
To expose the system, basically. It's not so much her, but how the system handled it.
With her, in that where the child was allegedly conceived, I never passed go. I didn't collect $200. I never penetrated the woman.
Wow.
So we were trying, but I never passed go.
Right.
And that was that. So the courts ruled that it's like there's no way possible that he could have fathered this child. But here's the thing. You would think, okay, if that's not his child, and the courts ruled that there's no way I could have fathered the child, the case should be over, right? Everybody just go home. We still arguing points for a whole nother year and a half.
Wow.
Because although they said there's no way possible he could have been the biological father, but he is deemed the legal father. So now we're going through the process of me challenging jurisdiction to prove, was it signed by a judge? Was it signed by the clerk? Going through the proof of service, this whole process. And what I found was they didn't do nothing correctly. The proof of service, where they said that they allegedly served me at, I later proved the house was a vacant house.
Wow.
So this is part of the reason why I didn't know about it till 7 years later, because I never got served. You served me at a house that was vacant. And how did I find this out? I subpoenaed the Los Angeles County Department of Water and Power to come testify who lived here on this date at this time. They came and testified and said, well, on this date, we didn't have any power there. We had no service at that house. That house was vacant. Through Google, I found the owner of the home, tracked her down, sent her a subpoena to come to court. She comes and she says, well, yeah, I didn't have any tenants living there. And I got 2 police records to show that the house was vacant and was vandalized several times within that time span.
Wow.
So how can someone sign Michael Tillman, which I later proved Michael is a common name, but there's not a Michael in my family. So it's a lot of things that I proved. It wasn't signed by a judge. It wasn't signed by a clerk. A lot of the procedures that they are supposed to do, that they must do, let me correct that they must do. 28 USC 1691 says that all writs and processes issued from a court of the United States shall be under the seal of the court and signed by the clerk thereof. None of those documents. My proof of service was completely blank. It was never filed. It was never entered. So they have to stamp file. They have to send you the summons, the complaint. Everything that they did was wrong.
Right. See, what I don't understand is how did a judge sign it without, I'm sure that they signed a judgment order without you being present. According to them, you refused, you basically you waived your right to actually, represent yourself. So how would they sign this without, making sure that all the proper documents was actually sent forth? You get what I'm saying?
That's a great question. Here in America, we have the innocent until proven guilty, right? That's in a judicial process. But child support hearings are administrative, they're not judicial. The person that's over these child support cases, they're not a judge. They are an attorney acting as a temporary judge that's volunteering his or her time to hear cases.
Right. And see, that's the point that I was trying to make earlier.
And here's the question. Here's the
Go
answer.
ahead.
In these administrative proceedings, they work under something called prima facie. Prima facie says that the courts take whatever is filed as true and correct until you provide evidence to show that it's not. So it's not you're innocent until proven guilty. If they file documents saying that you was defaulted, you didn't show up, you didn't respond, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, the courts is taking it as it's true and correct until you provide evidence to say that it's not.
Right.
That's how they're able to sign off on it, because they said he didn't respond.
Yeah. See, the point that I was trying to make is that is how they get many of us, through the administrative hearing, basically, But if you can get them to serve you properly, and then you provide a response, it have to go before a judge to give you the opportunity to cross-examine, to make sure that now for many of us to make sure that your income is what she's saying that you owe. You get what I'm saying? Or how much you make, excuse me. So whatever child support that they will give you, it's somewhat reflect what you owe. I mean, what you make, as opposed to what they believe that you make, which can be any number and make you basically pay just about any amount. You get what I'm trying to say?
And that's where a lot of people mess up at, because for me, I'm not even talking to you about money in a child support hearing. Once you're talking about money in a child support hearing, you already lost.
Yeah.
What you're essentially saying is that you've been found guilty in family court and you've abandoned your children.
Right.
So now you have an obligation. You've been found guilty. That's why we're talking about money. I'm going to support my children, but I'm not going to be in here talking to y'all about no money, because when I do that, it's deemed that I'm already telling y'all that I've been found guilty.
Yeah, absolutely. There's actually a provision in there's a provision in Title 4D that I'm going to mention a little later on. That I'm going to mention a little later on, because I don't want to speak on that a little too soon. So once you went before the judge, they still found you guilty. Well, they somewhat found you guilty because you were still dealing with it for a year after it was basically dismissed.
Yeah, so they dismissed the case for extrinsic fraud after 22 years. The case got dismissed June 15, 2018.
Okay.
So they dismissed it for extrinsic fraud after 22 years.
Okay, can you explain that to those that don't know what it is?
So extrinsic fraud means like there's intent. The intent came where you forged a signature. You signed Michael Tillman and said that you served him at this house, which he later proved was vacant. You didn't, none of the proof of service, it wasn't even filed when you have your own policies in place that says that you must file these documents and enter them correctly. It wasn't signed by the clerk. It wasn't under the seal of the court. All of these things that are supposed to be in place, being that you took training and you know that this is how we're supposed to do things and you didn't, that makes it intent. How do you because to get to fraud, there has to be an intent. And then what is the intent? What is the motive? Well, child support services, they get under 42 USC 652A, they get incentive payments based on their performance to collect child support. So you have a motive to forge signatures. You have a motive to find me guilty in these administrative hearings. So therefore, that's how I prove extrinsic fraud. And the courts agreed, and that's why the case got dismissed.
Okay. Yeah, I know the state gets about 66% of any amount of money that they basically spend into collection and enforcing child support. And I think it's like $3 for every $2 that they spend to so yeah, you're right. They have monetary incentive to actually go after people, whether it's legally or illegally, really.
But that's what you talking about. That's just regular. With the incentives, that's something totally different. This is just free money. So it's like a bonus. So do you know that in the year of 2024, the federal government approved it was $713 million in incentive money that the state gets for based on their performance to collect child support. Just bonuses. Just a bonus. I ain't talking about the money that you get back from collecting it. I ain't talking about your regular salary, just straight bonuses. That's what an incentive is. The better you do, the more money you get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and another thing that I found out is not so much that they're performing, is the act of them performing. Meaning, I can fake it as if I'm going after this person and make it seem like I'm not able to reach this person, and they're still getting money for it. You see what I'm saying? So it's crazy.
President,
It's crazy. So what happened after your case got dismissed?
after the case got dismissed, I walked outside of my hearing, and in the lobby, I'm like, "Yo, my case just got dismissed for extrinsic fraud. Child support is fraud," and that's how I was birthed, just like that.
Yeah, that's how you start your platform.
That's how the platform got birthed in that moment, the day of the case got dismissed. So at that point, I'm documenting now. Family and friends is asking me to help people, and people are asking me more questions on Instagram, and the platform just started to grow.
Yeah.
And 2 years later, well, actually, no, it was more than 2 years because I released the book December 22nd. So it was 4 years later when I released the book. Once I released that book, it changed the game because for me, I was just on Instagram, just saying things, but now people have something tangible to actually see the actual documents. You can see my court documents. You can see what the court filed. What the county filed. You can see the documents where I'm being denied certain things. You see everything. So I'm walking you through the entire process step by step on what they filed, what they're supposed to do. Here's the laws, the case law, their policy, and how the case ultimately got dismissed. And once I did that, once I released that book, man, the when I released that book, the Instagram page had 5,000. I think it was like under five. It was like 4,000 followers. Today we had 200 some thousand
Wow.
in 16 months.
It's needed, man. It's well deserved because a lot of men did. I know people, and I hate talking about this, but I know people that have literally taken themselves out because they couldn't deal with this pressure. You know what I'm saying? The pressure of going to the family court, the pressure of dealing with divorce, dealing with attorneys, and then the child support on top of that. And it gets to the point where, let me tell you, when I was going through my case, right, I had, and then when I first filed for divorce, I thought it was gonna be a piece of cake. You just go out there before the judge, you tell the judge, you know what? Okay, we tried, the marriage didn't work. We decided to go our separate way. Bada bang, bada boom, you go about your business, right? So she comes in there with her attorney, and they had a paper about this thick of nothing but false allegations about all the things that she said that I did to her. You get what I'm saying? So I'm standing there like, and I had a podcast, I want to say about 2 weeks ago with an attorney when I was talking to her, and she understood where I was coming from because I was standing before this judge. My knee literally buckled. I couldn't stand straight because I couldn't believe the things that she was saying about me. Mind you, we had 2 children at the time. You get what I'm saying? So, and this is really what basically put me in my journey with this platform that I have. You know what I mean? To really give people a clear heads up of what really goes on in family court. Because in my opinion, in this country, if you are married or you have children, at some point, and I hate to say that, at some point you will deal with the family court system. You get what I'm saying? It's a very sad truth. But it was crazy. I went through a lot with this woman trying to really clear my name. At one point, I was dealing with 3 attorneys. I was dealing with a family court attorney, I was dealing with an immigration attorney, and I was dealing with a criminal attorney. You see what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's crazy. And child support was one of the biggest, thing I really had to go through. That's a story for another day. So, you got your platform. You started your platform. You wrote your book. How many people would you say that you were able to help get their name clear to in child support?
Well, so and I always like to make this clear. So I'm not an attorney. I'm not a paralegal. So I can't actually do the work for people. I can't go in there and represent people based on the education that I provided in that book. Hold the from the Instagram posts and things of that nature. From the date that book was released until to date, 37 people have sent me documents showing that they've got custody of their kids and got their case dismissed for child support. So 37 people in
Wow.
37 people in 16 months since that book has been.
That's a beautiful thing. See, I'm actually a paralegal, and then what you just said, that's something that we should have said from the beginning. This is just for information purposes. Yeah, we are not attorney. We are not giving out any type of legal advice. I want to make sure that is very, very clear. So my understanding, and actually I went to get my paralegal certificate just because of what I went through. You know what I mean? So I can understand the terminology, I can understand the process, and how to really push the right paperwork to clear your name or to get some type of a favorable outcome when it comes to family court. Not saying that every day is going to be good, just depend on the judge, really. But at least if you put your best foot forward, it can reduce a lot of stress, and it can reduce a lot of things that comes with the family court. And my understanding is to either get your child support reduced or eliminated, you have to go for custody. You get what I'm saying? So when these people, when they contact you, when you said some of them want custody, so what was that the main thing that they were going for, or they also had the same issue that you had? This just fraud, basically, to put them on child support without their knowledge.
It's half and half. Some really the main goal is, I need a break because they're charging me $2,400 a month, 18, whatever the number is. It's like, man, I can't survive. I work this, I don't work there no more. It changed, but they said I have the ability to all of that. But what I encourage and educate people on, no matter if it was me and I was still in this situation, I would be fighting for joint physical custody no matter what my child support situation is. Because there's a Supreme Court case law called Santowski versus Kramer, which says that all natural parents have a fundamental liberty interest in the care, custody, and management over their children. Unfortunately, in these child support and family court hearings, no one has custody until it is claimed. So we have to claim it. And if we don't claim it, demanding joint physical custody, because they like to say, yeah, we'll give you joint legal custody, but that just means y'all both deciding school and hospital and things of that nature. But the physical custody that's why we're talking about money and child support, because you didn't claim your parental rights over here. So we presume that you've abandoned your child pursuant to the Social Security Act from 1935. But here we are in 2024 operating under the same procedures that were put in place in 1935 when if a man left his woman or went to war in 1935, working for women wasn't favorable in 1935. So if they had to come up with the cash aid, the food stamp, the Medicaid, Title 4A to support women, needy families. Here we are in 2024, we're still operating under that same abandonment policies, and that's what needs to be changed within Title 4A and Title 4D to be able to have a more favorable outcome for both parents.
Absolutely, well said. One thing I wanted to add when you said about the legal custody is that for many men, for men that are looking to either reduce their child support or get eliminated, the one thing that like you said, the one thing that you need to go for is for joint custody, not just legal but physical. But the issue that I see many men usually, or the mistake that many of them make, you live on the other side of town and you want physical custody. It don't work like that. You see what I'm saying? The closer that you can live to the mother, the better it is for you.
Objection.
Go
Objection.
Ahead. Break it down.
Objection.
No, go ahead. Okay, let me ask you this though. So for someone, for someone who is living, for example, let's say you live, okay, I'm in Atlanta, right?
Mm-hmm.
What state you in?
I'm in California.
Okay, so you in Cali and I'm in Atlanta. So if both of us have people let's say the mother of my child in Cali, and then the mother of your child is in Atlanta, for example. For you to be able to get some type of physical custody during the school year, to me, it's very difficult. And I have not seen a case. I have not seen a case where a judge will allow a small child to have, a small child parents to have joint physical custody when the parents are completely in two different states or at least 100 miles away from each other. So the best thing, again, you can correct me with this based on your experience. If the closer you are to the mother, the better chance do you have to get what we call a 50-50 or a 40-60. You see what I'm saying? That's the point I'm trying to make. But you can't be across town trying to get physical custody. It doesn't work like that. But go ahead.
Objection.
All right,
So
go ahead.
here's it. There's something that you said in there which was very key. You said that it's highly unlikely that a judge will grant a little child to go from one parent to another when they're on two different sides, farther away, different cities, different county, different state during school hours. That's the key right there. That's the key right there. So if I'm residing in California and the mother of my child is in Atlanta, what I'm coming in saying, look, under Santowski versus Kramer, I have a fundamental liberty interest in the care, custody, and management over my child. So if there's no history of drugs, neglect, or abuse, it is my God-given right that's backed by the United States Constitution to the management, the care, and the custody of my children. But here's the thing. So I'm coming in there with my own parenting plan. Yes, the child can reside with the mother for school purposes only. Yes, the child can reside there with the mother for school purposes only. So during the school, yes. The summer, that's me. We're alternating. So, but here's the thing. That's the problem. A lot of people don't actually dig in to see how joint physical custody works. Joint physical custody has nothing to do with time, distance, nor finances. It just deals with both parents invoking their parental rights. So you're telling me that because my child lives in Atlanta and I'm here in California, that's no longer my child? I'm a non-custodial parent now? No, I'm invoking my parental rights. We have to read to see how joint physical custody works. It literally, and I found this information out at the child support mediation office. They had a TV monitor and they said, it's very unlikely that we can get the child to split equally between both parents. It doesn't have to be 80-20, 60-40, 70-30. That's not how joint physical custody works. Joint physical custody means that both parents have invoked their parental rights. So we just have to understand and educate ourselves how joint physical custody works. Now, and I'm not just blowing smoke. I posted it several times. I may even post it again today just for the viewers, so when they see it, they can go back. It'll be close at the top. A guy lives in Florida, in Miami. The mother of his child resides in Atlanta. He has joint physical custody residing in two different states. When he got joint physical custody, so he took a master class. We went through the education. He went to his hearing. He come back, I got joint physical custody. That's okay, cool. A few weeks later, guess what he sends me in a DM? He gets a notice from Child Support Services because he took the new order and provided to child support and said, hey, I'm a custodial parent now. I have joint physical custody. Guess what they sent to him? They sent him a dismissal saying, hey, we now have in our possession a judicial order, because family court is judicial, child support is administrative. I want y'all to understand that. Custody, timeshare, domestic violence, divorce, all of that's in family court. That's judicial. When you're in child support, you're only dealing with the money aspect. So child support said we have a judicial order, the new case that shows that he's a custodial parent and he has joint physical custody. They sent him a dismissal and said, we are closing the case because we have in place a judicial order which supersedes any administrative proceeding.
No, I mean, I'm not doubting you. I'm not doubting you, right? But listen,
But no,
I'm
you're
also
right though. Yeah,
paralegal, right?
and I'm
Listen,
not saying that you're wrong. You are
right.
absolutely 100% correct. It's just we get to the door and we knock. It's like, okay, we look in the living room. All right, yeah, that's it. No, but this house got multiple rooms. Go in the other rooms.
Go check the other room. Right. Okay, well, listen. This is. See, I'm also paralegal, right? Listen, I'm also paralegal, right? And like I told you, I don't work with any specific law firm. I only got that certificate for my platform. You get what I'm saying? So this is what I've encountered. And again, when it comes to family court, not two court are the same. Can you hear me? Every court is different, because it comes down to the judge. You know what I mean? And most people don't. Hold on, no. Let me say this though. Let me say this.
That's a problem right
Right,
there.
but let me say
Well,
this.
let me
We'll
finish.
come back to that.
Yeah. Let me say this though. The fact that initially the family court, I believe that it still operates under this. The family court was initially created as an equity, a court. Meaning, at the end of the day, the decision is based on what the judge believed to be fair, not according to the law, not according to what you bring me. Is what the judge can sit down and say, okay, I think this is fair for this person. I think this is fair for that person, and they make the decision based on that, right? So this is what I've seen. Child support ultimately comes down to how many nights that child is with whichever parent. You get what I'm saying? So if you count the school years, on average, you have about 9 months. So if mom have the child for 9 months, all right, you have every other weekend. And then you get the kids for 2 months for the summer. Let's make it 3 months. At the end of the day, you will still pay some type of child support to the mother because of the number of the nights that the child or the children are with her. You get what I'm saying? Now, this is the thing that I am encountering. And again, to the point that I'm making about these judges, you can bring all these things, but at the end of the day, if that judge say, this is what I believe needs to happen in this case, that is what is going to happen. And that is the issue when it comes down to the family court. I think a lot of these judges, they have too much power to make a decision in something or in someone, to make a decision in a case that will basically change someone's life for forever. You get what I'm saying? So those are the 2 points that I wanted to make on that. Because I don't want anybody to watch this and think that I can take this information and run with it and then go, and then if something happened, they'll think that one of us is not telling them the truth. You get what I'm saying? That's the clarification I wanted to, I wanted to put out there.
And to piggyback off of what you said, yes. And this is the conversation I have with attorneys in the comments on the Instagram pages. They're always telling me, yo, TJ, this is how things go. And I'm with you on it. Yes, what you just said is 1000% correct. Yes, this is what encounters, this is what happens in these hearings. Why? Because people are walking in there consenting, volunteering into the program. So once you volunteer, yes, you are agreeing to all of these state proceedings. With everything that you said is based on state proceedings, and this is how it works in this state. But here's the thing. I didn't use anything pertaining to California in my case. I only used United States codes, Supreme Court case law, Code of Federal Regulations, and United States Constitution, which means it applies to all states. So here's the thing. When you go in there and not invoking your rights correctly, everything that you just said, that's what's going to happen to you. So it's just, and that's just where I just like to educate people. Like, there's more room, so you go in another door because there's more options now. But here's what I want to clear up to it, what you just said. Just because this was my experience and there's been other people's experiences, I have people who are very versed and educated, and some of them more educated than me, that are still fighting in child support with the same information. Yes, because the judge that they have, which is a problem. So it is based on your own performance, and sometimes it's based on the judge that you have, because I know that there's my mentor, Rick W. on YouTube. He had a judge in New York by the name of Sudhi Carr. I know a guy specifically on the Instagram page, he has the same judge and she don't care about what you file, what you say, take it to appeals. Because I ain't getting you out of here for nothing. And these cases are getting dismissed when they go to appeals.
Absolutely.
But when you go in front of Sudi Carr, shit, ain't nothing happening.
Okay, let me touch on what you said earlier. Let me touch on what you said earlier, because my thing is, I don't want anybody to take this information. Although we were very clear that we're not attorneys, we just for information purpose. I don't want anybody to take it and run with it, and when they try something, it doesn't work, then they come back to us like we giving out false information. I don't want that. Now, the good thing with your case, and I will say this, and please correct me if I'm wrong. The good thing with your case, it turned out to be that the child was not yours, right? So it was. Oh no, let me ask this. Let me ask this. Was the child yours?
No.
Okay. See, to me, I'm just telling you based on my personal experience, because I'm in family court literally every other day, and I see this. And again, it comes down to the judge. I want to be very clear about that. But the good thing about your case, the child was not yours. But if, for example, let's say what happened to you with this fraud case that you ended up winning, for someone that have the child is biologically yours, and then you go to court and then you find out that they falsify information. They lied to the judge. They're trying to reach out to you. It was all lies. And then the judge dismissed it. They can come back to you again at any point, because at the end of the day, that child is yours. Whoever have custody of that child, meaning again, physical custody of that child, they can request child support. And sometimes they don't even have to request it. They can just apply for welfare. And the child support services will come after you because you got to, pay whatever they give out, right? So, and again, correct me on that part. Meaning, the child was, this is my understanding of your story, right? That child was yours. You were able to prove that the way that they have gone about trying to contact you was all lies. You got your case dismissed. So they have no other incentive to come after you, because again, it's not your kid, right? So for someone, let's say I'm in your shoes right now, and that child is mine. That child is biologically mine. I was able to get it dismissed. What will stop them from coming after me again?
Well, because the case was dismissed for fraud. And when a case is dismissed for fraud, you can't be tried again for the same thing. It's double jeopardy, even though it is your child. They had their time to do it correctly. So here's the thing. When on my case dismissal, the actual code on why I was dismissed, it said that if their procedures were not done correctly within 3.5 years, that the case has to be dismissed and it can never be opened again. I don't give a damn what the situation was. It had nothing to do with no kids at all. It was based on their procedures. And for me, that's why I really don't even like talking about the part of whether the child was mine or not, because I don't want to confuse people, and I want to be 1000% clear. My case was dismissed for extrinsic fraud because they didn't follow their own procedures. It wasn't under the seal of the court. It wasn't signed by the clerk thereof. It wasn't signed by a judge. My documents were blank. They didn't follow their own procedures, and that's why the case got dismissed for extrinsic fraud. It had nothing absolutely to do with a child.
Okay. See, that's my argument, right? That's my argument with this, because you mentioned double jeopardy, right? Now, technically, you're right? But when it comes to family court technically is not a court of law. They don't have to follow these laws. That's the sad thing. You get what I'm saying? They don't have to follow it. So, again, this is based on my experience, right? They can come after you again based on the interest of the child, based on what they believe to be the best interest of the child, meaning both parents have to be able to provide for that child. You get what I'm trying to say? So right. So you can get out of it. Yeah, you say that they have missed the opportunity, but at the end of the day, go ahead.
The thing is how. So you're right, and so we have to be very clear. Again, because this is not legal advice, this is just our experiences dealing with child support. From my experiences, it's based on how the case was closed. If it was just closed for a mistake, yes, they can close the case and they can reopen it. If it's dismissed for fraud, it says that the case has to be closed and it can never be opened again. So that's the difference when it's dismissed for fraud opposed to it being dismissed because one person didn't show up to a hearing. Okay, we dismissed it because they didn't show up. Yeah, they can reopen it back up. They do it all the time. But when it's dismissed for fraud, it says that the case has to be closed and it can never be opened again. So that's the distinction between the two, opposed to it just being closed because a person can actually go and close the case. There's a voluntary case closure form. The person who you're paying support to can actually go and sign a form and close the case. They wake up tomorrow and mad at you, they can go reopen it right back up. If they get on welfare, they get off and then get back on, like you said. They're going to reopen it back up. But the thing is it depends on how the initial case was it dismissed for fraud or was it just closed? There's two totally different things.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that you and I were going we're going a separate way. You get what I'm saying? Because
So what you're saying is the case is just closed. But when the actual it's on the for anyone, you can do it your research or not even research. You can go on my page right now. The document is pinned at the top. When you punch in those codes and you see exactly what it says, is it literally says the case has to be closed and no further action shall ever be had.
right. No, I'm not doubting you. I'm not doubting you. See, the only thing that I have, right, is that if we use your case, that child was not yours. You see what I'm saying? But now for someone like me, for example, and again, I'm not saying you're wrong. We're just talking based on our experiences, right?